Alvin, Shipwreck Kelly rode Flagpole to fame. Fads, by nature, are short-lived and exhausted quickly. Now and again they fully enmesh the nation in some incredible, though usually innocuous, temporary craze. Looking back, a lot of them leave us shaking our heads. Perhaps one of the most wackiest of them all, flagpole sitting, returns us to the year 1924 and the life of Alvin, Shipwreck Kelly, perhaps the greatest flagpole sitter of them all, as he was frequently billed. Yes, Shipwreck Kelly parked himself atop flagpoles for a living, nothing more, but he popularized something in a decade that did not lack for zany attention grabbers in the first place. Indeed, Kelly was a superstar, once earning as much as $500 a day by sitting on precarious perches, and he toured dozens of cities and stirred the imaginations of enthusiasts throughout the country. Deciphering the life, legend of Shipwreck. It wasn't always simple to tell how it all began because Shipwreck hardly ever told the same story two times. What is true is that Kelly was born Aloysius Anthony Kelly on May 11, 1893, in Hell's Kitchen, an infamous tenement district of New York City. His father died before he was born and his mother died at his birth. He was adopted by a family friend and, according to Kelly, ran away to sea, changing his name to Alvin when he was only 7. There are stories of him shimmying up the sides of buildings as a defiant teenager, but they might be apocryphal. He later related stories of him performing duties as a seaman, a structural steel worker, a high diver, and even a pilot who performed aerial stunts. The Shipwreck nickname traces back to a time when he boxed and called himself Sailor Kelly. Apparently, his 5'7" frame was on the canvas so much of the time that the fans took to shouting, "The sailor's been shipwrecked again." Origins of a wacky career. The most plausible story about the origins of his strange career began in Hollywood in January 1924. Kelly, then 31, found work performing a risky feat as a steeplejack in a stunt role for a motion picture. Someone on the set asked him whether he thought he could last 10 hours on a flagpole. Kelly answered yes. Soon, he found himself on a mast outside of a Los Angeles theater as an advertising shill for the film then on display. He stayed up for 13 hours and 13 minutes, pocketing a side bet with the theater owner, and then slid down to ringing cheers from a medium-sized multitude, he later said. That set him on the road to fame, and he began to bill himself as the luckiest fool alive, and benefit from the employ of the name Shipwreck. In 1927, Shipwreck sat on a pole atop St. Francis Hotel for 312 hours, earning about $600. In 1928, his fees mounted to $100 a day, and he topped all his own records in the notable year of 1929 by putting in a total of 145 days on one precarious perch or another and netted approximately $29,000. Ticket fees, endorsements, including cigarettes, cigars, car dealers, and newspapers, written materials, and personal appearances, Shipwreck was earning good money coming in from all directions. He not only was collecting amply from the hotel and cutting in on the receipts from the rooftop admission charge but had a coffee sponsor as well, while his manager was peddling a pamphlet describing the earlier feats in somewhat extravagant terms. One of Shipwreck's most spectacular feats, in December 1928, kept him on a flagpole atop the Paramount Hotel in New York for 13 days, 13 hours, and 13 minutes in zero cold, snow, sleet and freezing rain. Some grand feat, although news accounts related, he was bitter when he came down. Apparently, only 13 copies of his pamphlet had been sold in all that time. Flagpole sitting ain't what it used to be, he lamented. But there were other perks, too. In Dallas he married an elevator operator to whom he was introduced when she was boosted up to the top of a pole to shake hands with him. They had one son, Alvin Jr., who, it was told, clambered up backyard poles with his father. Shipwreck was a daredevil, but he was clearly no dummy. There were safeguards atop the flagpoles. When he stood on the 6 to 8-inch deck that served as his platform, he had stirrups attached to the pole so that he wouldn't plunge to the ground if he fell asleep and lost his balance. To read more about the life of Alvin, Shipwreck Kelly, visit Brian D'Ambrosio's Substack, author of American Eccentrics, coming in 2026.